We don't act with facts when it comes to money. We act with our hearts. We go where our hearts are taking us. But unfortunately, from a factual point of view, you find that that's not where your wallet is.
Is it necessary to go and seek therapy when you're dealing with these sort of issues when it comes to your relationships with money?
Identify the difference between your needs and your wants, because there are certain things that we spend money on and we always think that we need them.
Hey, Red Circle family. Welcome back to Brick by Brick, your property power purpose podcast right here on Red Circle Television. I'm your host, Dudu. And as promised, we're bringing you a brand new series. And this one, we're talking about money. We're talking about your money mindset. We're talking about property in relation to your money mindset, as well as building wealth using property as a vehicle as well. I am joined by one of my favorite people, actually. And as promised, I said I'm going to bring you the best of the best in South Africa when it comes to talking about property and doing it the right way when you decide to invest in property. I would like to present to you, Red Circle family, Palisa. Palisa from Imvelo Wealth. Hi, Palisa.
Hi, Dudu.
Welcome to Brick by Brick.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Palisa is, in fact, one of my financial advisors. I think I can share that.
Yes,
I can, right? So she actually is in charge. She's the boss lady of one of my investment portfolios, or many, quite a few of them. And we're building on that continuously. Palisa, please share with our audience a little bit about Imvelo. Tell us, what it is that you guys do and what offerings you have at Imvelo Wealth.
All right. Once again, thank you very much for having me, Dudu. I am excited to be here. And it does show to me that you definitely trust what I do for you. And that means you trust me. So I appreciate that.
100%.
Now, on top of that, actually, I do want to say also congratulations on this podcast. I think it's certainly something that is needed by our people. So I am looking forward to more. I have listened to the Red Door series that you had, and I'm looking forward to the next phase of this, besides the finance part of it. Yeah. So Imvelo Wealth. Imvelo Wealth is a financial planning practice, or a wealth management practice, as we call it, that was co-founded by myself as well as Siba. So my name is Balesa Tolwe, and my business partner is Siba Njoba. So both females, and we decided that we wanted to do something that talks to many South Africans. Everything that we do at Imvelo Wealth is basically starting from where we come from as well. So we could relate pretty much to everything, every sort of services that we offer, we can relate to them. And services that we offer, they start from individual financial planning, where we help you to decide on, how much life cover you need, investments that you may tap onto, retirement savings that you may want to get yourself into. And we actually go over and above that, because then we also talk to employers, where we encourage them to give you employee benefits, and we're able to assist them in putting those structures together. And then, of course, we take you all the way to then retirement age, where you need retirement benefit counseling, so that you understand the benefits that you have when you exit your employment, be it by resignation or by retirement. Then we then assist you in ensuring that that money is going to go to some sort of investment so that it can grow. But also beyond that, if then you had to live longer, how does it look after you? And also if you pass on, how does it then get transferred to your family? So really, you can look at us as that financial planning practice that will take you not only from as you start working, but also during your life of working. We help you navigate this entire circle of finances, because it gets so complicated. So we help you navigate it, and all the way to then when you eventually depart this world. But also, actually, we don't stop there. Even your beneficiaries, we look after them. We help them to also implement. I was telling one of your producers when I got in here that if, for instance, he got an inheritance, let's say 5 million, and hopefully it's coming. I'm hoping that from my mouth to his ears, it's coming. Then we can help him to actually invest that money as well. So it's from someone who is still planning. They don't know what to do with their money because they started earning an income, all the way to someone who's now already received a certain lump sum from wherever, and we help them to invest those funds.
You see? This is why I love this specific topic, because it speaks to so many areas of our lives. And preparation for even the unknown, I think, is probably the most key, aspect of, the financial side of things. And Imvelo Wealth does it so well. You do it so well. And the services are impeccable, I must say. I may be biased, but that's okay too.
That's okay.
But, when it comes to putting money away, I believe that that's probably something that isn't always easy for everybody. And I wanted us to just get into discussing the psychology behind money, the relationship that we have with money, and how our upbringing, our emotions, and also generally our historical background plays a role in how we relate to money and the behavior that we have when it comes to finances. That is something that I think can be very challenging for many people. I think even myself, I'm working through a lot of those things. It's a continuous journey, but I think a very important one. So perhaps let's try and unpack a little bit on that specific issue, and looking specifically at how one's upbringing plays a role in how they relate to finances and how they treat finances.
Sure, Dudu, that is quite a deep topic. So in fact, just the topic itself, psychology of money, is a very wide topic with different facets to it. And obviously, we don't have a lot of time to tap into everything that this subject encompasses. But I think just a few nuggets there that I'm going to leave your listeners with is, number one, it's important to understand that you must have a relationship with money. And one of the things that we suffer from is that we don't want to have a relationship with money. We try and ignore it as much as we can. And unfortunately, everything that we do every day of our lives revolves around money, or is impacted, or we impact our money. So 100%. One way or the other.
But the minute you walk out of the door in your house,
or
even while you're
still sitting in your house, there's an impact. There's an interaction between yourself and your money that is taking place there. So it's important to have that relationship with your money. Don't just earn it and spend it, but understand what drives you. What drives you to do the things that you do with the money that you have. And as you said, sometimes it's our background, it's how we grew up. Some of us grew up not having enough. And so when we start having, we just want to splurge it. And some of us, we grew up not having enough again. And at the same time, then what we do once we start having that access to money, then we become hoarders. We just want to hoard the money, and we don't want to necessarily put it in places where it can grow for us. So the tools then that we have in place for anyone and everyone is pretty much to say it's important to set up goals for yourself. Right. So we're not necessarily setting up goals for money, but we're setting up goals for ourselves. What then happens is when we set up goals and let's say we start working, and we then say, these are the 3 things that I want to achieve in the next 5 years for ourselves. Then the next question becomes, if these are the 3 things. So let's say one of the things is you want to buy property in year 5 once you start working. Usually a car is one of those common ones that we will have on the list of things that we want to achieve, and we want to travel. So let's use those common ones. You want to travel, you want to buy yourself a car, and you want to buy yourself a property. it's important to write those things down. Now, don't only just say it in your head. Write it down, put it on paper, and also then start assigning amounts to it. How much is it that you will need to spend on in every one of those? Sometimes you don't know. You don't know what you qualify for.
Right.
But once you start doing that work of specifying your goals, your personal goals, it's not money goals, it's your personal goals. Once you start putting them down, then that drives you to the next step. How much do I need? And then the next step is, where do I go to get the money that I have? Do I have enough? Where do I save it if I don't have enough? And it just opens yourself up to wanting to do more, to understand more about money, but also it helps you to then want to go and seek professional help. Sure. Because more often than not, we just want to just do whatever it is that you can, not realizing that these things are complex matters, that you need professional help. Sometimes you need someone who will help you, hold you accountable. One of the important things, Dudu, before I close this, is that we need to understand that we are emotional beings.
Absolutely.
We are emotional beings, and so that's why you need another person who can assist you in holding yourself accountable again, on top of the fact that they can help you and help you just navigate this road, but also they can help you with accountability, because as emotional beings, we tend to think with our hearts and not necessarily with
our heads.
We don't act on facts when
That's
money
right.
is concerned. So again, tapping back onto the whole topic of psychology of money, we don't act with facts when it comes to money. We act with our hearts. We go where our hearts are taking us. But unfortunately, from a factual point of view, you find that that's not where your wallet is. It's not allowing you to go to that point. Or it is allowing you to go to that point, but you don't know how to navigate yourself to that point.
In that direction.
In that direction. And going back to the issue of maybe you didn't have enough and now you are just hogging and you're not really putting the money where it should be so that it can grow for you.
Right.
So I think understanding your history of money will help you also navigate your future in terms of spending that money and just using it where you need to use it.
I absolutely agree. One of the key things you touched on there is the emotional attachments to things. And for me, the other one being that you need someone to hold your hand through this process. That for me became one of the most important parts of deciding how I'm going to manage my finances, right? And I contacted Imvelo Wealth and I said, this is what I want to be able to achieve. These are my goals. This is where I see myself in the future, maybe X years, perhaps after retirement, etc. And I want to live a certain lifestyle. I want to continue to enjoy the things that I'm enjoying now and manage my finances in such a way that it would allow me to live that life. And it isn't necessarily an easy decision to come to, especially when you are dealing with some of those, background traumas that sometimes you cannot pinpoint. But you realize that they are manifesting themselves in different ways in your life. I'll give an example. For me, shopping is probably one of my biggest weaknesses, right? Love to go to the shop every now and then. The other one is dining, right? Those are some of the things that maybe we may take for granted, but driving to McDonald's through that drive-through, you're actually spending money in that process. While the businesses make it a very easy one for you to do, it actually is also impacting on your pocket if you're not thinking about how you're spending your money. But then there's certain there's some fulfillment sometimes that comes from being able to do those things. And perhaps it's background trauma at the same time, meaning maybe your parents never took you out to McDonald's often enough, or any fast food restaurant for that matter, or even a restaurant in general. And then once now you have the opportunity to do that, you do it without realizing that perhaps this is a little bit excessive. And once you go through your statement and you start realizing all these little expenses and you think, oh, okay, but where is this coming from? Where is this attachment to these things or this type of lifestyle coming from? And how do I begin to address that? So that I can begin to have a better, outlook in terms of financially in the future. And having, yourselves And Ustiba, I think it's a blessing, and people should take advantage of that. Coming to you, I didn't have a plan necessarily, and you helped to sort of shape that over time. And I've been able to continue to invest in my properties, etc., knowing that, there are certain measures in place financially that will allow me to still live the life that I want to live in the future. So yes, psychology, I think, is a key thing. Working out this before even the millions start coming out, I think is very, very key. It's very key to long-term success.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask also, is it necessary to go and seek therapy when you're dealing with these sort of issues when it comes to your relationships with money?
Yeah.
Is that something you would advocate for as well?
Look, I can't say no to that. I really can't say no. I do feel and believe that there's a place and time for everything. And perhaps there's time for therapy, and there's a need and reason for therapy sometimes. But the thing is, once you've identified those issues or where something is coming from, you also need solutions. How do I deal with it? And that's important. So you spoke about, you find yourself excessively spending. Now, what are some of the tools that you can put in place to avoid you finding yourselves in a space where you are excessively spending? And it starts with, for instance, assessing your budget. So again, I take it back to that relationship with money.
Right.
As much as we don't want to hear this whole term, and sometimes it's thrown around like a toy, which maybe it may feel like it is sometimes because people never stick to it. But have you done a budget? And if you haven't done a budget, then do a budget. Put together a budget. How do you do a budget? There's different ways of doing budgets. There's tools online that you can access to do a budget. So there's one that I particularly like. For instance, we always use it because we like that people can easily remember it, but it's not the only way. It's just one of the rules of thumb. If you don't have another way, maybe try that one.
Right.
And so it's really just to identify the difference between your needs and your wants, because there are certain things that we spend money on and we always think that we need them. We always think, if I ask you now, do you need that dress? You'll say, yes, I need that dress. No, then we need to then identify, no, you need a dress. You don't need that dress that will cost you 2.5 a month. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's correct.
Yes.
I get it.
Do you need to go to McDonald's every day? No. But you need to eat every day, right?
True.
And so it's things like those where we need to just ask ourselves those simple questions. It's really not complicated. Those simple questions, can I live with it? I mean, can I live without it? If you can't live without it, then it becomes a need. If you can do without it, then you don't necessarily need it. It is just a want. But again, I do want to say, we also need to acknowledge and accept, especially if we look at where we come from. Some of us came from not so easy backgrounds, right? And so there's that emotional fulfillment that we get from the things that we buy is not necessarily in vain. As you said, you get this fulfillment once you have gone and bought this item. Now, the question is, how do you still buy that item and not feel guilty about it and be broke until the end of the month? Because now you've spent all of it.
On that beautiful dress.
On that beautiful dress. So those are the things that we need to address, and that's where budgeting comes in. Because for me, I'm saying, do the important things first.
Right.
So in other words, do your budget or create your budget in such a way that, one, it takes care of your goals, it takes care of your important things, like insurance. Insurance is important because we don't know when something will happen to you, and so you need to take care of that. Spend your money in such a way that you don't find that you are 70%, the income that you are earning, 70% of it is going towards managing debt, as an example, and you are left with nothing at the end of the month. So do those small things or those important things first, and then whatever is left, it's for you to spend. Right. So don't spend first, and then whatever is left is what you're going to do the important things with. And I think that's where sometimes we get it wrong. So the important something.
debt and
Yeah,
end up
exactly.
under pressure.
And then it becomes a cycle. It becomes a cycle because now you go and you borrow money from Peter to pay Paul.
Hey,
From
and then
Paul, you
Paul's
go,
trying to pay.
you borrowed from Jabu, and now you go to, Tandeka, and it just becomes a cycle that
Right.
never ends.
Never ends.
So the important thing is take care of the important things, and we've got those tools in place. Let's start here. Let's look at, okay, how much is it that you earn? How much is it that you spend? We assess that, and then once we've assessed that, we assign the labels. Is it a need? Is it a want? Is it a need? Is it a want? We also use something called a 50-30-20 principle. Again, something that is also easy to sort of, it's a very simple math. So take your entire budget, and as you were doing those needs and wants, look at how much, when you add all your needs together, do they make up 20%, and the whole 80% is taken by your wants? Then we have a problem. We need to revise that. It should be the other way around, where 20% is then the what the wants, or it's going towards the wants, because we still need to fulfill our hearts. Yeah. We still need to fulfill our hearts, so we still need to travel the world and all of these things and fulfill ourselves. Go to the restaurant,
not every day.
but again, with as minimal as possible. So be a minimalist if you can for certain things. Go big on others, because they're going to create a future for you. Or another way that I look at it is, do the things that when you look at yourself and your achievements in 10 years' time, you say, Vanessa, I'm proud of you.
That's right.
Pat yourself in the back and say, you did that.
You did it.
You didn't even have to, get a tender, or you didn't even have a tender for that matter. But you did that.
Budgeting well,
simply budgeting.
Reframing your mindset around how you're spending, how your relationship, with 100%. Money is, etc.
Yeah,
and then getting to that ultimate goal.
100%. Because
having the things that you've always desired to have, without having the pressure of now thinking I'm massively in debt.
100%. So it's those tools that you put in place.
Very important, and I think perhaps bringing the family along on that journey, one of the key aspects to that, because the psychology trickles down to everybody else when it comes to money. And then sort of not training, but allowing them to also understand the importance of being responsible when it comes to expenses and spending, because the bigger goal, in mind is for everybody to be comfortable at the end of the day. And I think when it comes to property, when you decide to become a property investor, it's a capital intensive investment portfolio.
It is.
And if you're not thinking about, how you're going to be managing the money that you're putting into those investments or into those properties, you're going to also, unfortunately, find yourself in a situation where you're not able to manage. So mindset and that psychology behind how you are relating to that money is critical in your success in property investment, I believe, as well. It was a journey for me as well, and I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing all right. But yes, it's extremely important to always keep track, always have that budget in place, always stay mindful of where money is going and how it's being spent. And it's not always going to be perfect. Yeah. I believe that, because I myself, it's never perfect. Yeah. 1 month you're like, okay. The next month you're like, what happened?
What happened here? Yeah.
What happened here? But I think the point is to always come back to the principles and understanding what the ultimate goal is. And then having Imvelo Wealth, yourselves as, part of that journey, and, having someone to hold your hand through that journey, I think is an important part of it as well. Yeah.
I like what you said with regards to it's not always perfect. So I'd say, again, just to leave a few nuggets, I'd say the way we are wired from a psychology perspective, we are wired to think only positively.
Sure.
I think I would even say that we probably have an entrepreneurial spirit, all of us. We invent things. We come up with solutions. Even if you're working for a company, you come up with solutions, and those solutions are supposed to pay us, pay us back for the work that we've done. And we do those things because we believe positively that they're going to pay us something back, which is all well and good. And often it happens. You go through an entrepreneurial journey, or you decide to go into invest in property, and your intention, I think no one ever does something thinking that it's not going to go well.
Right.
Everyone does whatever they want, be it buying property, starting a business, going to work for a particular company. We all do those things because of the benefits that we are going to get out of that, and that's good. But now, because things don't always go the way we would like them to, we also need to have a small percentage of risk management.
Right.
It's not natural. It really is not. For many people, it's not natural to always think, what if it doesn't go right? Many people just think, what if it goes right? I mean, they don't even think, what if it goes right? It's gonna go right. I can see these millions. I'm gonna make them. I can see them. But the reality of it is, it may take time. There may be detours on the road before you get there. And you then need to plan for those. You need to anticipate them. And I think when it comes to property in particular, a lot of people are maybe taking longer to own properties, or own properties but lose them because the detours have not been thought through properly, and the maths behind it have not been factored enough in the plans in terms of, what do I do if this happens? And I guess that's also where professional help comes in. But even if there isn't professional help, it's important to just have that mindset.
Right.
That
have that plan in
have
place.
that plan in place, that if it doesn't go right, I bought property, just to make it practical, I bought property for investing, I've got rental income that's coming in. But then it happens that for the next 6 months, I've lost a tenant and there's no one coming in who's paying that bond. I did not plan on
paying two bonds
because I'm living in one property. Right. And the next thing you know, there's also levies now. You owe levies. Now you owe
increase sometimes.
Now you owe the municipality their rates and taxes, and it just becomes a mess. And then you go and you borrow, and it just becomes a mess. And then your plan falls apart. So, reality of the matter is, yes, you may be able to get to where you're trying to go to. But it is possible when you've put plans in place and you are able to then have sort of like a source where you're going to tap onto if this doesn't work as well as you had expected. Right. Again, to add to this practical example I was making, if that happens, you had an emergency fund, or even before you even started buying a property, you had saved enough just so that when you have these issues, you have some money sitting aside, then you tap onto yourself. You're not going to borrow, you tap onto yourself, you're able to sustain that bond so that you don't necessarily take the next best tenant, even if who is promising to pay, even if they're not the right tenant for you, and you end up, instead of getting 10K a month, you end up getting 7K a month because that was the only tenant you could get.
Sure.
So it just helps you to navigate those things. You need to avoid things that will put you in a desperate situation because then you'll end up taking anything. Then the next thing you find yourself, you're just selling this property for whatever you can sell it for because you're now running out of money, and you can't sustain it. And those are some of the challenges I know when it comes to property that is making it difficult for a lot of people to get
into that investment
to your property ownership as an example.
No, absolutely agree. Well, thank you, Balisa. All the gems as usual. And I think you've touched on so many important aspects to, what psychology and money can look like in somebody's life, and on also their financial journey. I think we're going to unpack the planning ahead aspect of that, especially when you're looking at your future and looking at investing, etc., and what you should be considering in that plan. So thank you so much for being a part of this series and joining me for our very first episode for this specific series. And one of my very favorite topics, I think, finances, managing finances, thinking about the psychology behind it, because that is what lays the foundation for the future in terms of your, portfolio and what your life will look like after, and your children, your beneficiaries, and what their life will also look like if you have those proper mechanisms in place financially.
Correct.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me to do.
You're welcome.
I really hope that you got what you needed from me.
Absolutely. Right. As usual, 100%. Well, Red Circle family, there you have it. The psychology of money, one of the most key aspects to understanding how you relate to finances, what your behaviors mean in the manner in which you are dealing with finances in your life. And we hope that this episode has been helpful to you. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and you hit that notification bell so that you do not miss our follow-up episode where we will be unpacking what planning ahead looks like and how that will benefit you in your financial journey. All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. All right.